Hi everyone. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day today. So today I want to talk about something that I got revealed in prayers, and I've been searching the evidences of that in scriptures, not just in the Bible but in other areas too, history. And at first I just wanted to do a simple video, short, cut and dry. But I realized that the rabbit hole was much deeper than what I thought. So first of all, let us define who our Creator God is, right? So that we can draw some conclusions about what to expect in judgments, right? Deuteronomy 25:13-15. Thou shalt not have in thy bag diverse weights, a great and a small. Thou shalt not have in thy house diverse measures, a great and a small, but thou shalt have a perfect and just weight. A perfect and just measure shalt thou have, that thy days may be lengthened in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. So each time I say the Lord, that is Yahweh, right? In Proverbs 11:1. A false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. His or her delight, right? Nowhere it says that Yahweh is a man or a male. Leviticus 19:15. Ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty, but in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor. In Isaiah 56:1, thus saith the Lord, Keep ye judgment, and do justice, for my salvation is near to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. John 7:24. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. In Acts 10:34-35, Peter said something here. Then Peter opened his mouth and said, Of truth I perceive that God is no respecter of persons, but in every nation he that feareth him or her, and worketh righteousness, is accepted with him or her. With that being said, we can see that our Creator is righteous, doesn't like injustice, right? And that doesn't accept any favoritism to the poor or to the rich or to the neighbor or to the mother-in-law, father-in-law, sons and daughters. It has to be a righteous judgment, right? A righteous balance, not a favoritism to any male, neither female, nothing. It has to be righteous judgment, right? Then let's go next and see what happened in these laws created by man, right? So through these scriptures, we can see that our Creator of the universe in all existence expects us to be righteous in judgments and in our actions, to the point that we put our very life on the line and count the cost.
We count the cost. We will pledge our very lives
for this fight on righteousness, right? So for this reason, I'm bringing all the scriptures on these laws so that you can evaluate and judge according to God's eyes. We have many laws that makes us wonder, right? Because these laws, they don't look righteous and neither contain any justice in them. These laws are crooked laws, right? Let's see here in Deuteronomy 22:22-39. If a man married or single, it doesn't mention any of his stance on that, right? Is found lying with a woman married to a husband, then both of them shall die, the man that lay with the woman and the woman. So you shall put away the evil from Israel. So there is no second witness mentioned. So any accusation It says in the law that both of them shall die. Okay, both of them betrayed. They broke the marriage code, right? The marriage law, and they have to die because they betrayed each other. Now we have very old laws, which they also say it came from God, right? They say it came from Marduk, which is Baal, right? Or from Enki or Enlil, all these fallen ones. The code of Ur-Nammu, it's from the time of 2100 to 2050 BC. Oldest known tablet, Sumerian language given by the Shamash. Shamash is the sun god. Also, for many, it is known as Utu, who is Marduk or Baal, right? Ur-Nammu 7. If the wife of a man followed after another man, and he slept with her, they shall slay that woman, but that male shall be set free. So the man, he committed the same sin, right? But because she went after him and he just didn't resist her, so he committed the sin, but just she shall be killed, right? In Hammurabi Code, and by the way, it is not saying here that this man is married. It doesn't say anything. So it's enough for a woman to go after another man. Because she is married, she cannot seek after the other man. But it doesn't say his status, whether or not he is married. So the faithfulness is required just of her, not of him. Then later on came the Hammurabi Code, right? That's from the time 1755 to 1750 BC. If a man's wife be surprised in flagrant delicto with another man, both shall be tied and thrown into the water, but the husband may pardon his wife and the king his slaves. The husband can pardon her and then she can be set free. It doesn't have to be thrown in the river. And the king can pardon his slaves. Then there is another one at Hammurabi Code 132. If the finger is pointed at a man's wife about another man, but she is not caught sleeping with the other man, she shall jump into the river for her husband. It's just necessary to have someone accusing you, pointing a finger at you and saying you have not been faithful to your husband. It's enough for you to be thrown into a river. So a river of ordeal. God knows how she gets thrown in her. I don't know. I didn't get into details whether or not they bound her hands and feet or however it was done. Then we have the Code of Ashur 11. This is all the Assyrian law codes. And you will see that the Assyrian law codes, they have very similar with what we have in the Bible or in the Torah, right? If a man's wife goes out into the highway and a man seizes her without even proposing intercourse with her and not giving her the chance to protect herself, but seizes her by force and rapes her, whether he merely overpowers the man's wife or actually has intercourse with her, the witnesses may seize him and put the man to death. No guilt attaches to the woman. If the wife of a man goes out from her house and visit a man where he lives, and he have intercourse with her, knowing that she is a man's wife, the man and also the woman they shall put to death. So the fact that she goes and visit a man, so it could be brother-in-law, it could be any man, consent or non-consent, if she is inside of a man's house and if he has sex with her, she is put to death. Now let's go to Assyrian law code. If a man takes a virgin from the houses of her father, and against her will does not return her to him, and if by force she had not been deflowered and had not been handed over, nor held as a claim on the house of her father, any man who, whether within a city or outside, whether at night or highway, or at an eating house or at a city festival, forcibly seizes the virgin, violates her, the father of the virgin takes the wife of the seducer of the virgin and gives her to be ravished. To her husband he does not return her. He takes her away from him. The father of the ravished girl gives her as a possession to the seducer. The man has no wife. Then 3 times the purchase price of a virgin the seducer must give to her father. The seducer who marries her cannot spurn her. If the father does not wish to receive 3 times the price of a virgin, he may give his daughter to any whom he pleases, a house to meet a man at a rendezvous. This is very similar to what we have in the Bible, but let's see clear how it goes here. The girl gets kidnapped, right? And then he deflowers her, he rapes her, has sex with her, right? And what the father of this girl does, he goes there and kidnaps the wife of that man who was married. First of all, right? That man deserves to die. So the rapist's wife, who is guilty of no crime, she has done nothing. She pays for her husband's crime, while her husband gets away by becoming the husband of the girl who he raped, and he becomes the son-in-law of the raped girl's father. Let us make it make sense. While the other, who was his first wife, that wife is never going to be given back to him. God knows what they'll do to her. Whether they'll kill her or make her their slaves, their sex slaves, God knows. But this was their law. And this, they say, all thanks to the righteous Baal. Now we have Ur-Nammu 14. If a man accuse the wife of a man of adultery, and the river ordeal proved her innocent, then the man who had accused her must pay 1/3 of a mina of silver. That seems to be quite right, okay? She got accused and she had to jump into the river, even though there was no proof that she did anything. But because she was accused, she was thrown into a river. God knows what kind of river that was, right? And she managed to survive. Now she gets money back. Oh, what great of a justice, right? Ur-Nammu 6. If a man violates the right of another and deflowers the virgin wife of a young man, they shall kill that male. So a virgin wife, why is she a virgin wife? Because they are promised to be wife. Even though they are little tiny babies, they are promised to be wives. And then the guy is waiting for her to turn 9. Then they go and ravish her, right? Consummate the marriage. And then there's the law of Ishnuma. Also, it's older, right? 2200 to 2100 BC. Section 26. If a man brought bride payment to a man's daughter, but another, without asking her father and or her mother, forcibly seized her and deflowered her, it is a case of life indeed. He shall die. Well, again, property, he shall die. I think that's okay that he shall die. He deflowered her. But not because she was promised to another man, because she was raped, right? But let's go on. Hammurabi Code. In all these laws, they thank to their God, right? Baal. Hammurabi Code 130. If a man violate the wife, betrothed, or child wife of another man who has never known a man and still lives in her father's house, and sleep with her, and he be surprised, this man shall be put to death, but the wife is blameless. Well, because he was surprised, right? If he was not surprised, she'll be dead. Now we go to the Bible, which they say is of God, right? Deuteronomy 22:23. If a young woman who is a virgin is betrothed to a husband, promised to a husband, right? And a man finds her in the city and lies with her, then you shall bring them both out to the gate of the city, and you shall stone them both to death with stones. The young woman, because she did not cry out in the city, and the man, because he humbled his neighbor's wife, so you shall put away the evil from among you. You're in the city, because you're in the city, you're supposed to scream, right? That's a great excuse to rape somebody in the city. You cover her mouth, and she has no way to scream or anything. You rape her, and she stays silent, right? Because if she says anything, she knows that she's condemned to death. Why will she speak up, right? So here in Genesis 39:14, we see that this law in the city of crying out in the city, this existed in other laws before the Torah was given to Moses. This is something that they carry on from other laws. And we can prove that because of the situation with Joseph, right? In Genesis 39:14, that she called to the men of her house and spoke to them, saying, see, he has brought in to us a Hebrew to mock us. He came in to me to lie with me, and I cried out with a loud voice. So she is excusing herself by saying that she cried out, right? That means she's following the rules, right? Hello, I'm in the city and I cried out, though she was lying, right? That means that they didn't try her, they didn't question or anything. The king just believed her, which is wrong too, right? We need to be righteous. Is it not written that our Creator God is righteous and we have to judge things rightly? So that means they have to try the witness, right? But she was not tried. Deuteronomy 22:25. But if a man, these are all things written in the Bible, right? Which they tell us it's of God, right? Our Creator. Deuteronomy 22:25. But if a man finds a betrothed young woman in the countryside, and the man forces her and lies with her, then only the man who lay with her shall die. But you shall do nothing to the young woman. There is in the young woman no sin deserving of death. For just as when a man rises against his neighbor and kills him, even so is this matter. For he found her in the countryside, and the betrothed young woman cried out, but there was no one to save her. Oh, how wonderful! She was in the countryside. I wonder how many in those times survived a rape in the countryside. Because a man knew if he rapes her in the city, if he manages to cover her mouth, she has to stay quiet, right? Because she knows she's going to die, not just him. But in the countryside, he knows that he's the only one who will die. Why would he let her live, right? Obviously, she got killed. She didn't survive to tell the story. The code of Ashura, if the wives of a man or the daughters of a man go out into the street, their heads are to be veiled. The prostitute is not to be veiled. Maid servants are not to be veiled. Veiled harlots and maid servants shall have their garments seized, and 50 blows inflicted on them, and bitumen poured on their heads. So the harlots, because she belongs to all men, right? The harlot cannot cover her head, because if she covers, they respect her, right? And the maid servant, because she had no husband yet, so she's no slave, no sex slave to no man. So the first who serves himself of her, he becomes her husband. What a predator world, right? So for this reason, the parents, they promised their daughters, like a few months after they were born, they were already giving them away in marriage because of the fear that the other man will rape them. Laws of Ishnuma, section 27-28. If a man took a man's daughter without asking her father or her mother, and also subsequently did not fix marriage feast and or contract her father or her mother, should she even dwell in the house the days of 1 year, she is not a wife. And if he subsequently fixed contract and or marriage feast for her father and or her mother and took her, she is a wife. We don't even know if he took her forcibly or if she went along with him. There's nothing declared here. It looks like women had no say on their rapist husbands. Well, that's kind of a good thing, right? If he took her, they're living together. And I think it's disrespectful to take a girl from her house, right? And now here, let's see the situation. If the girl is not betrothed, not promised to anyone, right? Deuteronomy 22:28. That's in the Bible, again, right? If a man finds a young woman who is a virgin, who is not betrothed, and he seizes her and lies with her, and they are found out, then the man who lay with her shall give to the young woman's father 50 shekels, and she shall be his wife, because he has humbled her. And he shall not be permitted to divorce her all his days. So this, you see, we see this situation when she's a virgin, not betrothed. Any man can seize you, right? He can seize and rape you. Then, oh, voila, you got a wife. And he shall not put her away. What a great thing. So she's going to have sex with her rapist for the rest of her life because he's not allowed to divorce her. So welcome to hell, right? Exodus 22:16-17. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. And if her father utterly refuse to give her unto him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins. So these, we have two different laws in the same Bible, right? One here, he has to pay money for her, and he doesn't have to marry her. But in the other case, he has to marry her. 2 Samuel 13:14-15. Here we are talking about son of the King David, who everybody says the very righteous king, right? It's the son Amnon. Tamar was raped by him, right? However, he will not heed her voice, and being stronger than she, he forced her and lay with her. Then Amnon hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred with which he hated her was greater than the love with which he had loved her. And Amnon said to her, Arise, be gone. So there was no repentance and no punishment by his father, the king, who was righteous, right? According to what is written in the Bible, he was a righteous king. Why did he not do any justice? He didn't avenge her. So who avenged her rape was her brother Absalom. Now let's see here this section of the slave women, how ugly that one looks. Laws of Ishnuna, section 31. If a man deflowered a man's slave woman, 1/3 of a mina silver he shall weigh out, and the slave woman remains her owner's indeed. So a man deflowered a slave woman. The owner received the money, and she's still his slave. So he doesn't give her away. She was just some extra income. Disgusting. Urnamu. If a man proceeded by force and deflowered the virgin slave woman of another man, that man must pay 5 shekels of silver. It's not telling exactly who receives the money, but most likely it's the owner again, right? Now let's go to the Bible. Leviticus 19:20. And whosoever lieth carnally with a woman, that is a bondmaid, slave, betrothed to a husband, and not at all redeemed, nor freedom given her, she shall be scourged, not him. So there is no scourging for him. He laid with a slave woman, right? They shall not be put to death because she was not free. How great. Because you're a slave woman, anyone can come, they can rape you, they can do whatever, and she gets the beating, not the man. If that's righteousness, then I don't know what kind of God we have, because this doesn't look righteous. Exodus 21:2-6. If thou buy an Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master have given him a wife, and she have borne him sons and daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free, then the master shall bring him unto the judges, and he shall also bring him to the door, or unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. Oh, what a great profit, right? He got another slave. The woman who the master gave was his slave. Then all the children that are born from that slave woman, they are all the master's profit, right? And the guy who married her, his children are all slaves. He cannot redeem or rescue anyone. So that's why we see that these laws, they are faulty, because in Leviticus 19, it says that the husband redeems her, right? He can redeem her. They are kind of saying that, when you marry her, you redeem her. But this is not true. So they contradict each other right there. So let's go and see here these so-called righteous men of God, the rabbis, right? Rabbis, that word means master, Baal, right? And teachers. They are very respected men, and they say they are speaking for God, right? For our Creator. Let's see. They created their own ketubah. This is a marriage contract. And they give their own opinion. And people are following what they say as God's laws. Ketubah 11a, Mishnah. With regard to an adult man who engaged in intercourse with a minor girl less than 3 years old, or a minor boy less than 9 years old, who engaged in intercourse with an adult woman, or a woman who had her hymen ruptured by wood or any other foreign object, for all these women, their marriage contract is 200 dinars, and their legal status is that of a virgin. This is the statement of Rabbi Meir. And the rabbis say the marriage contract of a woman whose hymen was ruptured by wood is 100 dinars, as physically, since her hymen is not intact, she is no longer a virgin. So they are so concerned about the hymen intact. They are not even caring about her age or anything like that. And then there's another 11a. We too will say, these are other rabbis saying, we too will say, Elonit, a sexually underdeveloped woman, is a term meaning like a ram, dakranit, because like a male sheep, she does not bear children, Mishnah. With regard to a female convert or a captive woman or a maid servant who were ransomed with regard to the captive, or who were converted with regard to the convert, or who was freed with regard to the maid servant, when she was less than 3 years old and 1 day, for all these their marriage contract is 200 dinars, as their presumptive status is that of a virgin, even if they were subject to intercourse when they were younger than their age. The hymen remains restored, as they are subject to a claim concerning their virginity. So they are not saying that this is a horrible thing. They are kind of saying, yeah, regardless whether or not you had sex with her, anyone had raped those girls under 3 years old, you still have to consider her a virgin because she's that young. Nida 44b9 Mishnah. A girl who is 3 years old and 1 day old, whose father arranged her betrothal, is betrothed through intercourse, as the halakhic status of intercourse with her is that of intercourse in all halakhic, and in a case where the childless husband of a girl 3 years and 1 day old dies, if she didn't bear any children 3 years old, right? If his brother, the Javan, who is the brother-in-law, engaged in intercourse with her, he acquires her as his wife, and she is married. Wow, how wonderful, right? And if she didn't bear any child when she was 3 years old, he can go ahead and take her, right? Ketubah 11b. An adult man who engaged in intercourse with a minor girl less than 3 years old has done nothing, as intercourse with a girl less than 3 years old tantamount to poking a finger into the eye. In the case of an eye, after a tear falls from another tear forms, replace it. Similarly, the ruptured hymen of the girl younger than 3 is restored. So, saying there's nothing. So make sure the girl is younger than 3 years old. So you can rape her, you can do whatever you want with the girl, because her hymen will be restored. She's just gonna cry. The tears will fall, but don't worry. So she's okay to rape because she's younger. How is that anything of our Creator, right? And then we wonder, are the Muslims any better? Are their laws any better? Let's take a look. Well, I don't know much about the Muslims, the Quran, but I know that they have very Baal worshippers. They really prioritize man. But let's see what they write here. Tahrir al-Wasila. Forgive me for the pronunciation. I don't speak Arabic. Volume 2. Page 221 to 222. Islam ruling 12. It is not permission to have intercourse before her being 9 years old, be it in nikah, permanent marriage, or temporary marriage. What that even means, temporary marriage. And as for all other pleasures, such as lustful touch, embracing, and tying, there is no problem in it, even with a suckling infant. So let's see here the definition. I got it from the Muslims. What the definition of tying means: shoving the penis between the thighs of a woman. But we are talking about a young baby, right? We are talking about a young girl, because I myself saw that they sell infants there, especially in Afghanistan. They sell months-old little girl to 50 years old man as husband, right? And here what we see, there is no problem. They say there is no problem. If you engage in lustful touch, that's okay. You can do it between her legs. A suckling who was not even weaned from breastfeeding. Oh yeah, you go there and you do your lustful stuff between her legs until she turns 9, then finally you can rape her. So should we feel bad about that? At least she is not raped before 3 years old. Disgusting. And then it goes further here, all from the Muslim laws. Sahih Muslim 14:16, Hadith 82. That's a report from Aisha, Muhammad's, the apostle of God, according to what they say, the apostle of Allah, right? She's reporting. Aisha reported, Allah's apostle married me when I was 6 years old, and I was admitted to his house when I was 9 years old. So I was reading some other reports that he was tying her until she was 9. He will come there to the place where her parents were, and he will play with her tying. Yeah. Quran 33:50. A prophet, we have made, O prophet, we have made lawful to thee thy wives, to whom thou hast paid their dowers, and those slaves whom thy right hand possesses out of the prisoners of war, whom Allah has assigned to thee. This is one of several personal sounding verses from Allah narrated by Muhammad, in this case allowing a virtually unlimited supply of sex partners. Other Muslims are restricted to 4 wives, but they may also have sex with any number of slaves, following the example of their prophet. What a good example to follow, right? Quran 4:24. And all married women are forbidden unto you, save those captives whom your right hand possess. Even sex with married slaves is permissible. So, wow, what a great thing, right? You're married to a slave woman, your master can come there and have sex in front of you. There's nothing you can do. He has the right to do that, right? So let's see if the people of the Bible, the so-called people of God, if they were any better. In Judges 5:30, this is reporting from Sisera, right, the king, who they went there to war. Have they not sped? Have they not divided the prey? For every man a damsel or two, to Sisera a prey of diverse colors, and a prey of diverse colors of needlework, on both sides, meat for the necks of them that take the spoil. So it looks like all other women the soldiers could get and rape them, right? And Sisera will take the virgins, because Tamar, the daughter of David, she wore a coat of diverse colors, and it said there that this is the kind of coat the virgins wear, right? Well, the king will get the virgins, while the other soldiers will take the other girls, right? And then we see here in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, it tells very clear what they did, right? Book of Wisdom of Solomon 2:11. Let our strength be the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth. What they did, if you go to Micah 2:8-10, there you see that they pull their robes, the lawgivers, the daughters of Zion, right? They pulled their robes down, and they stripped their clothes. They raped them, right? And took them from the position of giving righteous laws, and they made their strength, so their muscles, their justice, where nobody could question. So the one who murders is the ruler here. Is this not what Jesus said, that Satan, the father of all lies, he was a murderer from the very beginning? Well, who are these people following? Is this not the murderer from the very beginning? Let's see here what Jesus said in Matthew 5:28. But I say to you that whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. So Jesus is speaking very harsh against the lustful desires. He's calling us to contain the flesh, right? In John 10:11 and 14, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd gives his life for the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and I know my sheep, and I am known by my own. So he's saying very clear that he gives life for her, right? For his sheep. He's not the kind of a wicked man who will throw his wife, as in the Judges 19, that Levi threw his concubine to the rapist. And also Lot, who they say was righteous, but Lot also offered his daughters to the rapist also for the same thing. How is this righteous, right? In John 10:13, the hireling flees because he's a hireling and does not care about the sheep. Who is the hireling? It's everyone who comes just for the sex. When things get bad, he flees. He leaves. He doesn't care about any responsibility. He is the hireling. He's there just for his hire, for the sex, right? But are the Christians any better? Let's see here. Because Paul is not Jesus' followers, okay? They follow Paul everywhere. In every single church, they follow Paul. The people being called Christians started in Antioch. You can check that in the book of Acts. There is where they were first called Christians. They were followers of Paul, right? Not followers of Jesus. Advices that Paul gave to the people. Ephesians 5:22. Wives, submit your own husbands as to the Lord. Like he's basically saying, go and worship your husband as God, okay? This is Baal worship, false worship. In 1 Corinthians 7:9, but if they cannot exercise self-control, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion. So here he is saying, for the sake of the lust, you cannot control that serpent tail between your legs. Go ahead and exercise your lust 24/7. He's nowhere saying love, put love first. No, he's saying go. If you're burning, go there and satisfy your lust. Most of the New Testament books, they are all from Paul. Romans 7:19-20. It's Paul again, right? For I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil I do not want to do, this I keep on doing. Now, if I do what I do not want to do, it is no longer I who do it, but it is sin living in me that does it. So, very good excuse, right? He's saying, yeah, if you cannot stop sinning, sin on, because it is not you who is doing that. It is the sin living inside of you. Though in John also he says the soul who is birthed in Christ cannot keep on sinning, right? If you're a new child of God, born again, you cannot keep on sinning. But Paul told all these churches, it's okay, keep on sinning, because this is sin living inside of you. So if you kill somebody, you go to the court and you tell the judge, oh, I'm sorry, I killed that woman, but it was not myself. It was sin living inside of me, so forgive me. So will the judge buy this? Of course not. Would you buy that? Not, right? And let's see where all these things came from. This is old story. So there is the Targum. Targum was written before the Masoretic text. So it was established before the Masoretic text, which is the Torah, which they read now in the Bible all over the place. But Targum 4:26 says, and to Sheth, which is Seth, right, was born a son, and he called his name Enosh. That was the generation in whose days they began to err and to make themselves idols, and surnamed their idols by the name of the word of the Lord. So they started calling their idols by the name of Yahweh, right? And their idols were men. You see here in the Legends of the Jews, I took some stuff from there. Legends of the Jews, narrating the moment where Enosh was telling the other people how Yahweh made Adam in the second creation account, right? He said, Enosh took 6 clods of earth, mixed them, and molded them, and formed an image of dust and clay. But said the people, "This image does not walk, nor does it possess any breath of life." He then essayed to show them how God breathed the breath of life into the nostrils of Adam. But when he began to blow his breath into the image he had formed, Satan entered it, and the figure walked. And the people of this time, who had been inquiring these matters of Enosh, went astray after it, saying, "What is the difference between bowing down before the image and paying homage to a man?" So they have been paying homage to man before, right? Now they started bowing to images. The generation of Enosh was thus the first idol worshippers, and the punishment for their folly was not delayed long. God caused the sea to transgress its bounds, and a portion of the earth was flooded. This was the time also when the mountains became rocks, and the dead bodies of men began to decay. And still another consequence of the sin of idolatry was that the countenances of the men of the following generation were no longer in the likeness and image of God, as the countenances of Adam, Seth, and Enosh had been. They resembled centaurs, apes, and the demons lost their fear of man. So we see that the sons of Enosh, they started worshiping images, right? Now we see here in the Bible, Genesis 6:2, 4-5, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were beautiful, and they took wives to themselves of all whom they chose. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them, those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Then the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. So we see here that the sons of God came into the daughters of men, right? And they took them into wives. It doesn't say that the wives were seeking them, that those women wanted them. They took them. And the result were giants on the earth. And then later, even later, again, they bore children. They bore children, and those were men of renown. What about kings and priests, right? These are the men of renown. In First Enoch, this book also they say it doesn't belong to the Bible. Who were they? All men. All these writings, they were written by man and for man's last satisfaction, right? And then the book of Enoch is exposing that. Of course, they didn't want that in the Bible, right? So they removed it. But first book of Enoch, 69:6. And the name of the third is Gadriel. This is the one that showed all the deadly blows, and he led astray Eve. And he showed the weapons of death, the shield and the breastplate, and the sword for slaughter, and all the weapons of death to the sons of men. So we see here that Gadriel is the one who deceived Eve. This event happened much later. Either the Bible is out of sync, or this event happened much later, because it says there in Genesis, Adam alone was cast out of paradise, not Eve. Eve confessed her sin, and after 130 years is where Adam was able to mate with Eve again, okay? And then they had Seth. In 1 Enoch 69:8, and the name of the fourth is Penemu. This one showed the sons of men the bitter and the sweet, and showed them all the secrets of their wisdom. He taught them the art of writing with ink and paper, and through this many have gone astray, from eternity to eternity, and to his day. For men were not created for this, that they should confirm their faith with this, with pen and ink. For men were created no differently from the angels, so that they might remain righteous and pure. And death, which destroys everything, would not have touched them. But through his knowledge of theirs, they are being destroyed, and through his power, death consumes them. So we see here that the writings of ink and paper was not supposed to be, and that these are all the fallen ones who taught this. I wonder how long ago that happened, because according to history, paper happened much later. In Jesus' time, they barely had any paper, any papyrus, right? Much less paper. But even though if they had papyrus, it was much later, because before that they were writing in tablets, like rocks, clay tablets, right? And let's see here in Ezekiel 16:17 what Yahweh through the prophets, thou hast also taken thy fair jewels of my gold and my silver, which I had given thee, and madest to thyself images of men. And that man image is means the genital, like a phallus, and didst commit whoredom with them. Ezekiel, moreover, thou hast taken thy sons and thy daughters, whom thou hast borne unto me, and these hast thou sacrificed unto them to be devoured. Is these of thy whoredoms a small matter? So here we see, I took it from the translations in Genesis Hebrew Chaldee Lexicon. It explains what that word means. That word is male, right? And here it gives a little deeper idea of a pricking, piercing. There's also somewhere in Isaiah it says that Yahweh, God, will punish the piercing serpent, right? Kindred. Whence member virile, right? And then I checked what is a member viriling, and it comes down to penis, which is phallus, right? That's what they have been making to worship. And under whose instruction? Of course, those fallen ones, because they came down because they lusted. The reason was their lust, right? Then we see here also the woman who almost every single church in this earth, they talk about her, and they talk down about women who doesn't bow down and worship men. Oh, they are Jezebels, right? And then and they praise Jehu for having done that. He got her killed, right? And they love this story because they love to see women being killed. Let's see here in 2 Kings 10:29. However, Jehu did not turn away from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who had made Israel sin, that is, from the golden calves that were at Bethel and Dan. Those sins, golden calves, it is Marduk, Baal, right? Because Marduk is known as the sun calf, right? Close up of Jehu doing homage to Shalmaneser III, the black obelisk is one of the most important discoveries in biblical archaeology because of this panel, which depicts the Hebrew king Jehu, or possibly one of his servants, bringing gifts to Shalmaneser III and kneeling at his feet. So he was totally in with that Baal worship. Take careful heed to yourselves, for you saw no form when the Lord, or Yahweh, right, the Creator, he spoke to you at Horeb out of the midst of the fire, lest you act corruptly and make for yourselves a carved image in the form of any figure, the likeness of male or female. How about that? Because they were doing images of genitals, male and female, right? In Jeremiah 23:27, who tried to make my people forget my name by their dreams, which everyone tells his neighbor, as the fathers forgot my name for Baal. Baal, that's Baal, right? Baal, master, owner. Men made themselves Baal. And then here are some examples, some images. You can see on the far right is a Vatican. Oh, the heart of the Catholic Church. What they did, they took this obelisk there from Egypt. They brought it all the way down to Vatican, and there they have it, the symbol of a phallus, right? And this one is in Persia, another phallus there. And there is finally the Muslims. This is a mosque in Istanbul, Turkey. Penis there. And then finally, the center of everything, they have a vagina there with the clitoris, which men go round and round and round, and they kiss and they fight over to kiss that clitoris, right? So they worship both. Still doing the same thing as it was done long ago, but they keep the women in slaves so that they can guarantee fulfillment for their lustful desires, right? Then in 2 Chronicles 15:16 to 17, is Asa, right? The king. Also, he removed Maacah, the mother of Asa the king, from being queen mother because she had made an obscene image of Asherah. And Asa cut down her obscene image, then crushed and burned it by the brook Kidron. But the high places were not removed from Israel. Nevertheless, the heart of Asa was loyal all his days. And then I wonder to what? Loyal to whom? To Baal, right? Baal worship, because all these high places, the phalluses, right? Those he did not remove. Isaiah 59:4. None calleth for justice, nor any pleaded for truth. They trust in vanity and speak lies. They conceive mischief and bring forth iniquity. That's what they do. You see, they don't ask for justice and they bring forth, they birth iniquity, right? Isaiah 32:8 to 10. But a generous man devises generous things, and by generosity he shall stand. So all these men who are not being generous and good and merciful, they will not be able to stand before Yahweh, right? Isaiah 2:11. The high looks of man will be put to shame, and the pride of man will be made low. And only Yahweh, the Lord, right, will be lifted up in that day. That means the end times. That's what's going to happen, right? All these proud and arrogant men demanding women to worship them, to submit them and worship them as God, they will all be brought down. Proverbs 1:8. My son, hear the instruction of your father. In other translations says commandments of your father. And do not forsake the law of your mother. And that law here is Torah. Okay? And that's very interesting because the Torah comes from the mother. I also saw in the legends of the Jews that says that in the beginning was the Torah and God, right? And in John also it says that in the beginning was the Word and the Word was with God, right? In Revelation 13:9 to 10, if anyone has an ear, let him hear. He who leads into captivity shall go into captivity. He who kills with the sword must be killed with the sword. There is the patience and the faith of the saints. So here it is clear. You who are leading women into captivity, into phallus worship, these women, they are doing that because they are thinking that they are being pleasing to our Creator. It's a broken kingdom because a whole kingdom, they walk side by side. They become one, not one on top of the other. Well, I hope it all helped enlighten somebody here. I just decided to do this video because these are the things that got revealed to me. I found much more things, but this is long enough. And I hope it serves the purpose. And here is my question again. Will you help? Will you join in this fight for justice until everybody is set free? And thank you for watching me this far. And if this video could help someone, Please share and subscribe. Have a wonderful day.
Let justice flow like a river
till only free